Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. Oops. And that's your kitten commercial. That's my cat Kit walking across the computer. It's freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm Donald Patak. I'm your astrologer. My apologies for my voice being a little rough. Still dealing with this bug that's going through the school I work at. There's my contact information, standard YouTube copyright, and no, my content may not be used to train AI LLMs. So, keys to the reading part one, because I do read astrology differently. I read constellation based astrology, sometimes called true sidereal. This is astrology by the visible sky. Tropical astrology fixed the signs to seasons almost 1800 years ago. The way the sky looked 1800 years ago. The planets move and so don't the constellations very slowly. So I am reading the planets where they are in the actual sky. And with that, using the visible sky, there are actually 13 constellations in the zodiac belt. Between Scorpio and Sagittarius is the constellation of Ophiuchus. The symbol is of a man holding a snake by the head and the tail. In ancient times, the snake symbolized knowledge. So, when you're holding it by the head and the tail, that's controlling knowledge, using knowledge, and according to the mythos, using that knowledge to heal himself. So ideally, he would heal others with similar wounds. So it's the sign of the wounded healer. I use the natural size of the constellations because Mother Nature in her wisdom did not make them all the same size. Virgo is huge at just under 50 degrees, but Libra, Scorpio, Ophiuchus, individually they're less than 25 degrees. Collectively they don't even make 75 in the sky. The constellations are all different sizes and I respect that. And I use astrological midpoints as opposed to, or astronomical midpoints as opposed to the IAU boundaries. Really should fix that. The IAU boundaries, Athens Shementi noticed when he was zooming in on the boundary between Scorpio and Ophiuchus that stars from Scorpio are actually bumped into the constellation Ophiuchus. You know, Scorpio stars belonged in Scorpio. So he did a little creative geometry. You know, where's last bright star of Scorpio, first bright star of Ophiuchus, what's the halfway point? And he did that with every succeeding constellation. So I'm using slightly different midpoint system. I think it's more accurate. I think it's better. Keys to the reading part two. I interpret using evolutionary astrology. Yes, you are fated to face these transits. You have freedom of choice in how you're going to face them. I believe there is an ideal outcome and then there's a shadow outcome. Ideal is, hey, you learned a lesson, you got it, great. The shadow outcome, well, you didn't quite get it. So you do have freedom of choice, and the universe respects that, as do I. This is the weekly edition, so these are the universal lessons. So do have some compassion on your fellow ground pounders, earth travelers. I believe I said that. It's been a day. My dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone as I am outside of Buffalo, New York. I am operating within 1 degree of exact. I could go more than that, but I would get overwhelmed and you would get lost. And when we're dealing with the transits this week, you'll understand why 1 degree is really good. The software I'm using is Capricorn by Prometheus. So these are the weekly transits for the week of January 12th through 18, 2026, part one. First of all, I am struggling with my voice. It has been a nightmare all weekend. I've tried to record it all in one big shot several times. It didn't work. It just made my voice worse. So I am going to be doing this part one on Monday today. Part two, I'll be recording and posting on Tuesday. So this is part one, which will take us Monday through Thursday. We do have our sun in Sagittarius. The moon will be, for the week, will be Virgo through Sagittarius. Through Thursday, it will be into Ophiuchus. Our new moon will be in Sagittarius on January 18th. That's Sunday at 17:21 or 5:21 p.m. Eastern time. That's kind of redundant with 17:21 p.m. Well, our active planets of the week are the inner planets, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. However, I think what's more important yeah, those are important. The sun, your core identity, I'm not going to go into that. My voice will burn out. They're all aspecting in this order. Chiron, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So they're all hitting on these major outer planets. So these are actually the major themes. I think the outer planets are actually the major themes of and important themes of the week. Yes, the inner planets are active, but what they're aspecting, I think, are the greater life lessons that we need to learn at this time. And retrograde, we have Jupiter and Uranus. They're both retrograde. Retrograde is a time of reflection and inner work. I have a cat on just outside the camera, and she's looking, and I'm not sure what she wants to do. Kitten commercial number 2. It's Smokey. It's my friend's daughter's cat that I'm keeping and taking care of for her. Please do not walk across the keyboard like you did last time. It made a mess of everything. Good little Smokey. You can turn around. There you go. Let me pull this over here. Throat coat, nasty, but it works. Okay, doodle tool. And I'm going to be reading in part 1 up to this point. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when we're looking at the moon, we're beginning in Virgo. And it's a fast moving moon this week. We're dealing with that Libra through Sagittarius over the week. So we're going to deal with 3 signs in quick succession. We'll start with Libra on Monday. Tuesday evening we'll be in Scorpio. Thursday morning we'll be in Ophiuchus. And then Friday morning we'll be in Sagittarius, and that will end out that way. And as you can see, we do have some transits finishing Monday and Tuesday, but we have this cascade. Midnight. Your next cat in commercial. I have Midnight on my lap, and he's using my hand as a chew toy and a salt lick. You can see this steady cascade of planets starting up with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday. It's like Wile E. Coyote, and he drops that little pebble on the snow, and it starts building, and it gets bigger, bigger, bigger. And this is about when my voice gives out. So I'll do that this week or today. And then you can see Friday into Saturday, it picks up. And then Sunday, we just get hammered. Not only do we have, like on Saturday, the only real transit we have on Saturday is we do have, I forgot to put that in, Venus entering Capricorn. But you can see Sunday, we get hammered with all these planets. Let me draw out here. And if I like all that, and if I try to run through that 90 miles an hour, I'm not going to be doing it any service. So that's why I'm going to be taking. So you can see Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's an avalanche. So I'm breaking this up into 2. A, so I have a voice, but B, I can give it the respect it deserves, and hopefully it's more useful to you. So you can see Monday into Tuesday into Thursday. We do have 3 quick sign changes: Libra and ambiguity, Scorpio into depth, and then on Thursday morning, emotional healing. So it's a little fast and sort of in quick succession. So we do need to pay attention to that. And on Monday, you can see our big planet for the week, actually, it winds up being Mercury, followed by the sun. So if we were to actually highlight the Mercury transits, where are they? Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4. There was a 5th one right there. And then followed by the sun with that. And then you get the Venus transits, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I should do that on this side. So you can see all the inner planets, but when you look in this second column, what are they hitting? They're hitting that rapid succession on the outer planets of Chiron, Uranus, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Okay, kid, come on, down on my lap. You get here. So yes, the inner planet's active, but it's the outer planets, what they're aspecting. I think those are the important lessons, and that's the great focus. So here's that. Um, but yeah, I'll just a quick doodle here. Number one planet influential is going to be Mercury, followed by the Sun. So the Mercury, key lesson, learning communication, Sun, your core identity, followed by Venus, important because of those transits, but also her transit into Capricorn. So your relationships, creativity, and how you have fun. And then finally, Mars, lousy circle there, learning courage and assertiveness. So all our interpersonal planets are going to get a workout, and it's those outer planets that are really going to help be the major lessons in what you're learning. Okay, let me clear this out. This over here. Okay, so we're going to ending this week. We're going to enter. We're going to start with the moon in Virgo. The moon will actually be like right here at the end of this, at the beginning of the week. So emotionally, you're looking for self-improvement, developing your skills, realizing you need to update your skills, especially your emotional skills. I think the moon is the soul, your emotional self, your soul skills. So it's recognizing that it's time to leave behind the old and embrace the new, and update your skills. So pay attention to that, and new responsibilities get presented to you. Be open to people who can help you learn and develop these abilities. So you're recognizing a shortcoming and what it is you need to learn to address this shortcoming, and you're looking for people who can help you. The shadow here is, the shadow of Virgo. The desire of Virgo is to improve. The shadow of Virgo is perfectionism. Either you're driven to it, or you're realizing that it's unattainable, so why bother trying? So you're not going to do anything. But that's slipping into worry or being too hard on yourself. So these unrealistic expectations create more problems for you, and more barriers and more stumbling blocks. And please don't use me as a chew toy. Come on, Midnight. And yes, it's called Midnight because he is all black. He is the black cat. I have two of them. From Friday, we have a return transit here. Saturn in Pisces, sextiling Uranus, retrograde in Taurus. We had this for a while last year, and now with Saturn moving station direct, we get it again. So if you didn't get it the first time, this is your chance to get it right. Saturn in Pisces, spiritual maturity, spiritual growth. And I'm not talking about religion. Religion are the rules of man. This is your direct connection with the divine, and how are you growing and maturing with that? So, as you're doing that and you're developing that greater spiritual maturity, it creates an interest in you becoming more authentic, and you finding the peace and stability and strength that comes, that as you realize who you really are, as you're growing in your spiritual skills, that helps you to realize who you really are. And you're finding the peace and strength that comes from that. I'm reminded of okay, I'm not going to say that because it's going to kill my voice. Maybe I'll do that as a separate recording later in the week. I got some other ones I need to catch up. But that's the ideal, spiritual maturity, helping you to become more interested in who you really are and finding the peace and strength that comes from that. The shadow here, Saturn can be a control freak. And falling in Pisces, falling into that, those idle fantasies or illusions, and or falling into fear. Saturn can also be deep-seated fears, and the fuels despair and control issues that create this energy that leads to you trying to be someone that you're not. I'm reminded of the fundamentalist. I come from a fundamentalist Christian background. So I remember all these people who were like, oh, I can't let people know how I'm really doing, because if they did, that makes my faith look bad, make me look weak in my faith. No, you're just being honest, people. Papers all over the place. There we go. Sorry about that. But falling into those fears and the idle fantasies that they can fuel, and the fantasies and the delusions that they can fuel, create an interest or nervous energy, and you become someone, and it fuel a false identity, and you not being who you really are, whether you're acting out or selling out to fit in with some group. And you're really selling out to the rigid expectations of others, and your ability to express who you truly are gets lost. That started on January 9th. It'll be exact on the 20th, and will end on January 30th. So it's really a short transit in January this time around, right before the Chinese New Year. From Saturday, we have Venus in Sagittarius squaring Chiron in Pisces. Venus in Sagittarius, getting outside of your normal friendship group, exploring and going out and meeting new people, or exploring different avenues in creativity, or finding different ways of having fun. We always focus with Venus on relationship, and Venus covers so much more than just relationships. It is your ability to create, it is your ability to take a break, and how you learn how to do that. So look at it in those multiple lenses. So what are other people teaching you about yourself? And the square is a challenge, and challenges are designed to strengthen you. So as you're meeting these new people, it's helping you, it's strengthening your ability to heal and release wounds. You can step outside of your social circle and be a better, make new friends, and like, wow, that's cool. Or as you develop your creativity, it helps you to heal those fears and release them. Chiron is about healing wounds, and in Pisces, you're understanding them from a higher perspective and releasing them. So how is working with new people and getting new friends helping you to heal? How are strengthening you and challenging and strengthening you to heal? How is new artistic outlooks, or I don't remember what they call that now. Look at Picasso. His career. He started out as a regular old painter, and then he got into his colored times and his colored periods, and then he got into Cubism, and then God only knows what else he did. I mean, he just did all this different. But how could that be a healing journey? Looking at all these different schools of art, whether it's creative arts or music and acting, etc. How can that help you heal and release? Or how can just taking a break? We're a 24/7 society, and that's not good. How can saying no, sitting back and taking a break, be a healing experience? And taking the day off and saying, no, I'm not going to work, not answering the email. How can that be healing? The shadow here has you being shallow, superficial. You can come across as being insensitive, and it's certainly irresponsible, especially towards yourself and then towards other people. And this creates a crushing burden, and it reinforces those wounds, makes them a crushing burden, and a desire to escape or numb the pain any way you can. It can even be the denial of pain. So there we go. And Sunday, we have the sun in Sagittarius squaring Chiron. So this is you going out and exploring the world and learning new things about yourself. What is the world teaching you about you? In Venus, it's relationships. This is you, I'm going to say more of a solo show, as you go out and explore new interests, new ideas, new avenues. What is that teaching you about yourself, and how is that challenging you to heal? And also you having the confidence to take risks and work towards your destiny and explore the world to help you learn more about your destiny and who you are. And how does that strengthen your ability to heal and release wounds? And this will also help, as you're healing, it helps you to develop a healthy self-image and understand who you really are at heart. The shadow here is falling into the false ego. And in Sagittarius, this is a crisis of confidence. And And that can be overconfidence or underconfidence. It can go either which way. That creates a square becomes a crushing burden or a stumbling block. And the image that gets created is this self-styled martyr, and it's a false image. And it's escaping reality. Really, the person who's wounding you is yourself. It's not the world hurting you, it's you hurting yourself with your own false self-image. Okay, so there we go. On Monday, we have the moon entering Libra. Take a break. Yes, it's Monday, it's the beginning of the work week, but emotionally, slow down a little bit. Look at things from different perspectives. And let feelings that don't make sense, just accept them and let them be. Be open to different perspectives and let your emotion, let things be ambiguous. It doesn't always have to make sense. Be willing to look at things from different perspectives. The shadow here is you can fall into indecision and make decisions based on insecurity, and that's just going to make a bigger mess and more mistakes, or more mistakes and a bigger mess. Or the other side is refusing to choose it all, and that can pull you out of balance. So ideally, examining things from different, your emotional situations from different perspectives and finding the balance and say, oh, now that I understand it, it's better. Or you're getting out of balance, making poor decisions, or being completely indecisive, and this just throws your whole life out of whack. And Monday, we have Mars in Chiron squaring, or Mars in Sagittarius squaring Chiron in Pisces. Dyslexia has been kicking up on me. I apologize. Mars in Sagittarius squaring Chiron retrograde. Or, no, it's not retrograde. It's direct. Why do I have retrograde in there? God, I thought I pulled that out. Chiron in Pisces. Let me pull that out. I got to pull it out on the website. That's fine. I don't know why I did that. And I reviewed this too. Oh well, life happens, deal with it. So Mars having the courage to get out and explore and get out into the world. A key theme of Sagittarius is stepping out of your comfort zone and taking risks. And Mars is teaching you how to have the courage to do that and how to assert your abilities to do that. And a key with assertiveness is you're standing up for what you believe, and other people feel respected. So Mars, having the courage to get up, go out and explore, step outside of your safe zone, face your fears, and that can strengthen you and help. Again, that's as I didn't think I was going to be able to ever play guitar. I started taking the lessons. You know what? Got over it. Did well. Okay, I play basic rhythm and stuff. I can do a little lead. Fine. But getting the courage to get up, go out, step outside your comfort zone can be a healing experience. And as it challenges you, that strengthens you, and that's where the healing comes. And that helps you to release those wounds and let go. The shadow here, the shadow of Mars is fear, and it can come out as anger, it can come out as cowardice. And it can be violent, which is sad. And in Sagittarius, it's a crisis of confidence. Either overconfident, don't tell me what to do, and you could be starting to bully people, or underconfidence, no, I can't do that, and you're cowering away and trying to hide away. The square becomes a stumbling block, and that just fuels deeper wounds or a refusal to heal. And it's possible for you to relive the wounds of the past, or even try to numb the pain and escape them. On Tuesday, we have Mercury in Sagittarius opposite Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So again, this is mental exploration, stepping outside and something more curious, learning new communication skills, learning new skills. It kind of fits with that Libra moon, or the Virgo moon, actually. Never mind. I digress. But stepping outside and being curious and learning new skills out in the world. And following your curiosities, asking the questions, being willing to listen, willing to learn. Again, stepping outside that comfort zone and taking risks. And that's a reflection on oppositions are times of reflection. also balancing. But I'm going to use, I think here it's more reflection with Jupiter in retrograde, because retrograde is inner work. Retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, opportunity. Are you taking that opportunity? Are you fine? Do you have that self-confidence to learn and communicate? Really interesting. Mercury rules Gemini, Saturn rules Sagittarius. And they call that mutual receptivity. I'm blanking out on what exactly that means, but on how that really empowers this particular transit. But I also like to say, Gemini is like going to the library and reading about, say, Fort Niagara, or reading about an art museum, or reading about a park. Sagittarius says, let's go to Fort Niagara. Let's go to that art museum. Let's go visit that park. Let's go out. Gemini is library land in school where you're learning about it. Sagittarius is getting up, going out in the world, and doing something with it. So reflect. Are you taking the opportunity to learn and then taking it out in the world and communicating it and learning the practicality, taking risks with what you know, and willing to learn even more about it? What else do I have here? And how is that helping you to shift your perspective and enable you to develop your abilities and even take them out even further? The shadow here, Mercury and Sagittarius, is mentally rigid and defensive and leave you feeling stuck and caught in a shallow and superficial knowledge. And this gets out of balance because you could be pulling back from the real world and trying to stay stuck in Gemini, where you're just reading about and not all study, no experience, or it can be all experience and no study. Let's see what else. And it can be shallow and superficial knowledge that has no experiential backing. And poor decisions can leave you feeling distracted and lost. We have this crisis of confidence, your ability to learn. You're overconfident. I know this all. You can't teach me anything. Or underconfident. I can't learn it. Not willing to take the risks. And this gets to be that power struggle. I always think that oppositions are power struggles or things getting out of balance. And this is a crisis of confidence. What's fueling it is that crisis. It's the shadow of Jupiter is a crisis of confidence, again, over or under. And in Gemini is your ability to learn and communicate. So as you're going out and I was like, yeah, I know this, you can't teach me anything. You're just weakening your ability to learn, and you're setting yourself up for failure. And at the end, poor decisions leave you feeling distracted and lost, and you think you're a know-it-all, and really you don't know anything. And on Tuesday, later on Tuesday in the evening, we have the moon ending Scorpio, and this is time to face deep and potentially unsettling truths about yourself and about life. Honesty can be an ally if you use it properly. If you're using honesty to help you face the situations that you're in, it can be a healing experience. That would take it into the Ophiuchus. You can carry that into Ophiuchus and heal. But Scorpio is facing deep truths about yourself and about your situation. It can be intense. Powerful moods can arise. Pay attention to the feelings behind the moods. Because when you give a name to that feeling, all of a sudden you can understand it and explore it more deeply, and that helps you. The shadow here is just falling into that rotten mood, and that can complicate life and create more drama than it's worth. This moon in Scorpio can be miserable. And miserable for you and everyone around you. Oops. And Wednesday, we have Venus in Sagittarius, sextiling Saturn in Pisces. So Venus in Sagittarius, we talked about this before, relationships, creativity, taking a break, rest. And in Sagittarius, stepping out of your comfort zones with them, exploring more deeply, going outside of where you feel safe and taking that. I always like to say, go as far as you feel comfortable and take one more step. And if you can do that, that's good. And you can get comfortable at that point in time, then take another. But if you're feeling a little uneasy, stay where you are and explore that and why. What is it about these people? What is about this new art style or music style that's like, explore it a little bit. That's the key thing with Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the explorer. Get up, go out of your comfort zone, step outside your normal friends circle, step outside your normal artistic styles, step outside your how you kick back and have fun. And how does that create an interest in what? Spiritual maturity. Saturn is maturing and growing. And in Pisces, I like to say that spirituality, that's also understanding life from a higher perspective. And again, like I say, I never talk about religion because those are the rules of man. This is your direct connection with the divine. So, exploring those areas can help with spiritual growth and development, and gaining deeper experiences can lead to greater self respect and integrity. I think that's another great lesson of Saturn is as you work through these Saturn transits, you develop self-respect and you develop your integrity. The shadow here in Venus, in shadow with relationships, is being slick and manipulative. And crisis, and with Sagittarius, the shadow is this crisis of confidence, over or under. And yes, people who are overconfident can be slick and manipulative. I work in schools. People who are underconfident can be just as slick, just as manipulative. Helpless people are very manipulative. Um, and in the arts, I've always done this way. Why do I have to change or learn something, a new style, or learn a different way of doing it? And in rest or recreation, instead of kicking back and relaxing, staying up all night, eating garbage food and binge watching a show and then like, oh, it's 6 o'clock, I got to go to work now. And you're like wiped out. Um, all that can fuel what? The shadow of Saturn is fears. And in Pisces, these are fantasies or they're illusions. Some of them will be real, but it can result. This can create shallow meaningless relationships, or meaningless creative efforts, and fuel a lack of confidence and leave you living in a fantasy. And as a fuel, and Saturn is fear. It's being a control freak, um, unhealthy boundaries as well. And in Pisces, it's just that fantasy and trying to escape and numb pain. So you're doing all these things and being defensive, and you're just fueling more fear and trying to hide away. And Venus in Sagittarius, trining Uranus retrograde. So as you're learning to work with people or developing these new artistic styles, or learning just how better ways to chill out and relax, a trine is a support. This is an easy energy. A little bit goes a long way. Um, this helps you to develop and Uranus is individuality and authenticity. It helps you to find your peace, Taurus, peace, stability, strength. It is a bull. I've worked on farms. I've never met a weak bull. As a calf, they might be, but when those things get to be full grown, no. So it's helping you find that inner strength to be in your authentic self. All these, whether it's relationships, creativity, or rest, it's helping. This is a little bit, goes a long way. This is fueling your ability to become more authentic and finding that peace within yourself. And I always like to say with retrograde, it's the internal work and then it feeds out the outer world. So this is a time of inner work and finding that inner peace and inner strength and you realizing who you really are. The shadow, we talked about that with Venus being slick and manipulative or not making any changes and just retrenching on your style, or instead of resting, relaxing, wasting your life away. And that's a slippery slope downhill. And what is that fueling? It's you're giving your power away, you're giving away your identity, you're selling yourself out to fit in where you don't belong, to with some group, whether it's fitting in with somebody else's expectations or it's acting out to get a reaction. And even those people, um, they're all everybody's in a crowd. Let's face it. Fine, you're trying to fit into some crowd that you don't belong in, and instead of finding peace, it's laziness. Uh, you're giving away your power in a way, but it can also be that bull in a china shop. Um, Taurus, people always tell me lazy, but if you ever seen an angry Taurus, I've seen Aries run from an angry Taurus. Okay, a goat will always run away from an angry bull in a full charge. What else was I going to say like that? Yeah. Stuck in laziness, bull in a china shop. Um, you're just selling yourself out to fit in where you don't belong, and it just doesn't work. And this cold medicine isn't one that I'm going to take again because I'm feeling really heady. And on Thursday, this is where we're going to end for today. We have the moon entering Ophiuchus, emotional healing. You're gaining the knowledge so you can heal and release wounds. And by you healing yourself, you serve as a model for others to heal. And it's others with similar wounds. And during this transit, you can understand you can help you understand what being healed truly means. It doesn't mean that the wound never happened. It means you learned how to actually heal it. The shadow here is the refusal to heal or using the knowledge to wound others. And it can be disempowering of yourself, and you can wound others more deeply. Oops. And finally, on Thursday, we have Mercury in Sagittarius squaring Chiron. So Mercury, as you're getting up, going out and exploring, gaining new information, new insights, communicating with people, talking and learning, and stepping out of that comfort zone, how is that strengthening your ability to heal and release wounds? How is that strengthening your ability to see your wounds from a different perspective or a higher perspective? And how is that helping you to heal and release? Yeah, so opening your mind to new ideas and possibilities, strengthening the ability to understand wounds from a higher level and to heal and release them. The shadow, Mercury can be mentally rigid and defensive. And in Sagittarius, you can be irresponsible, overconfident, or underconfident, and that fuels irresponsibility, poor and foolish choices. And that becomes a stumbling block, which leads to instead of healing the wounds, it can deepen the wounds, reopen them, and wound more deeply. And in Pisces, you're getting more hurt, and the desire here is to escape. It's a spirit. I'm gonna say also it could be a spiritual wounding. Now that I think about it, you can be wounding yourself actually on a spiritual level. And again, still the desire is to numb the pain and escape and live in this fantasy that you're not hurt or anything like that. So I'm going to break at this point because I do feel my voice starting to quit. So do follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. On Instagram and Facebook, I do daily deep dives. I'm also on the digital soul space. These companies are making billions of dollars off your data. Digital soul space is hosted on the mighty networks. You control your data and how it gets used. And we have 4 great moderators who keep it a troll-free zone. And if somebody posts a comment that's inappropriate, yeah, they will call them out privately and address it. I think I remember they just had one situation recently resolved it quietly. They said, hey, this is a situation. This is what the person said. We dealt with it. It's really an amazing place. I do astrology, but there are people who do crystals, tarot, oracle decks, different spiritual traditions, you name it, it's on there somewhere. Mediumship as well. It's a great place. There's a free and a paid version. The free version gets you limited access. Paid version, which is less than a cup of coffee a month, Gets you access to the full site and all the different things that they offer. It's a really an incredible space. I do readings, quick six, if you want to see how your chart changes. And this is your journey. Quick six hits 6 key points on your chart. And these 6 key points are the foundation of a full birth and natal chart reading. In evolutionary astrology, your birth chart is your birth contract. It's not who you are, it's who you came to become. So your birth chart is your end all goal. You came here to be who? I can help you understand that. Karmic chart or a past life reading. There are people who believe in past lives, and karma was created and you're reliving that karma in this life so you can heal it and release it. I help you understand the archetype of what the wound was, how it was created, and then how you can release it. If you're a one and done, this is a special lesson you came here to learn. I do horoscopes. That's why you're watching this. Any 1 year, 12 months in a row, any 3 months in a row, or 1 month. That can be a calendar month or new moon to new moon, your choice. And I do packages at 4 different levels that take these readings and build them up and have different readings built together. So thank you, like, follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. If you do go to my website, you get a pop-up. All I need is an email address, 1 email a week. Thank you very much. I apologize for my voice, but I'm still getting over this virus, and I'm not the only teacher who's having issues with it. So like, follow, share, do sign up for the newsletter. And remember, in the visible sky, your life changes. Thank you very much. I will post part 2 tomorrow. Have yourself the best week possible.